Hey, everybody, it's Melinda Russell with Let's Talk Racing. Oh, sorry, it's not Start over. I'm going to start over, Kelly. I do
Okay.
two shows, and I just was like, oh my gosh. Okay, I'll cut that out. Hey, everybody, Melinda Russell with the Women's Motorsports Network podcast. And my guest today is Kelli Kugler. And Kelli, I'm going to let you tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll get started on the podcast and find out how you got involved in motorsports. So, why don't you start by just telling us a little bit about yourself?
Okay. Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. I was born and raised in Clearwater, Florida. I moved to Daytona Beach about 3.5 years ago. I wanted to be closer to the Speedway, follow my passion for motorsports. So I figured this would be a good place to start. So I recently graduated from the University of North Florida with my bachelor's degree in sport management, two minors, marketing and leadership. I currently work for NASCAR Racing Experience based in Daytona. So we provide rides and drives to customers in stock cars set up very similar to NASCAR style. So it's really exciting getting to play with race cars all day.
Mm-hmm.
I think my passion for motorsports really came from my dad. I was raised by my dad, single father, so obviously we had a lot of sports going on in our house, NASCAR and football Sundays all the time.
Mm-hmm.
My first race was actually the 50th Daytona 500, and from then on, I was hooked. Been to many races since then, Talladega, Daytona. We love super speedways, so we
Yeah.
spend a lot of time there. So it's just really a dream to be able to work at a prestigious track like Daytona.
Oh, absolutely. And that would be a dream job working there for so many people. And there's only a handful that get to do that. So you're very lucky, and I'm glad that we connected so we could find out more about what you do for sure. So, you and your dad love motorsports, love football. That sounds like a very familiar story. I hear that a lot. Um, you know, it's nice that racing brings us together with our families in so many ways. And I see so many fathers and daughters who really connect through NASCAR or motorsports. And so you've lived that as well. And it's a nice sport for fathers and daughters to come together with. Absolutely.
Definitely.
So you loved motorsports. Probably that was 25 years ago, if it was the 50th Daytona. And so, right, about 25 years ago would it have been? Probably.
That was in 2008,
Oh,
so
2008. So
about 15 years ago.
15 years ago. So they didn't have the Daytona 500 right from the start of NASCAR, I would assume then. So,
Right.
so 15 years ago, and from the time that you first went to your first race until now, what's kind of been your path of getting to where you are?
Well, it really started. I graduated high school in 2017, had absolutely no idea what I wanted to do. So I started out at a community college, just pursuing my associate's degree, taking the basic core classes, and I was getting up to my final semester there. So I really needed to decide what I wanted to continue to pursue. So I thought long and hard about the cliche of if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life.
Mm-hmm.
So I narrowed down what my passions were, and I looked into NASCAR and jobs within the industry, saw what the requirements were, and started working on that right away.
Yeah, and that's a smart thing to do. At least you didn't spend a lot of time in college and then had to go back and redo a lot of it. You first found out what you needed to do, and then you went and did that. And so, when did you graduate from college?
December of 2022.
Okay, so recently, just
Yep.
not that many months ago. And did you have any kind of internship or anything in motorsports?
I actually did my internship with NASCAR racing experience. I've been working there since about April 2021, and I moved up quickly, and there was an opportunity to be the assistant operations manager for the location. So I stepped into that role in about April of 2022, and I needed to do my internship during the last semester of college. So since I was already in the motorsports industry and fairly high up for somebody
Yeah.
my age, I figured that I would just stay there. And I was
Mm-hmm.
actually the first person to ever do an internship through my school with NASCAR racing experience. So I
Okay.
hope that that's an influence for others and they continue on that path.
Yeah, absolutely. And hopefully they'll let others do that now that it's happened already. You kind of broke the ground for that and it went well. And so that's a good thing. So you're working for the racing experience. Tell me what that is. I know what it is, but tell my listeners what that is.
Yeah. So in short, it is providing ride-alongs and or driving yourself in a stock car that's set up not as high tech, I guess, as NASCAR now, but very similar. We're on 15 tracks nationwide: Daytona, Talladega, Atlanta, and then of course, out west, Vegas, Phoenix. We do a lot, especially during championship week in Phoenix and around the Daytona 500 in February. That's when business really booms for us. It's a lot of fun. It is a bucket list item for most of our customers.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really inspiring to be a part of that, and watch the expression on the customers' faces when they get out of the race cars.
Yeah, for sure. So that was kind of a bucket list for me. And before my son passed away, he wanted to be the driver. He was a race car driver. So he wanted to do where he could drive. And then he purchased the one where I could ride along. And so we
Mhm.
did that at, believe it might have been the Richard Petty driving experience, but I think they're all the same probably or connected somehow. And so he did that. That was one of his bucket list items. And then I got in and I should have asked them that day how fast we were going, because it didn't see, I mean, I know we were going way faster than I'd ever gone before, but I don't know how fast that was, and it didn't seem that fast. And I was just sitting there and I had my arm on the, up here, just relaxing and enjoying the drive. And the guy driving looked over at me and he said, "Are you okay?" And I said, "Oh, can we go faster?" And he said, "No." So I enjoyed it. So about how fast do they typically go?
For the ride-alongs, typically 165 to 170.
Yeah. So see, that's a pretty speedy car there, way faster
Definitely.
than I'd ever ridden before, but I loved it. And I could easily have gone faster and not been scared because
Yeah.
I had a lot of confidence in the guy that was driving. Yeah. So what is your position there now, and what does that entail?
So right now, in Daytona, I am the assistant operations manager. So right under our operations manager, I assist him in overseeing the day-to-day operations of this location. I work on the staffing as well. We have a lot of dates in the summer in Daytona, so it's crazy, but just making sure that I'm treating the staff fair with the amount of hours that they're looking for. And keep in mind that it is very hot here in the summer, so I have to break that up as well.
Right.
But I actually plan on moving up to Charlotte, North Carolina here in the next few months. So I do know that there are some opportunities within the company. Our headquarters actually is in Concord. So
Hmm.
reach out and see if I can intertwine in that way some bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, that's exciting. And so what I love about what you do, and so far what you've told me, is that you knew that going to school was important because, I talked to a lot of women, girls, young girls, little girls, and NASCAR is a popular subject. Most of them want to be a driver in NASCAR, but I think if that didn't work out, every one of them would take a job in NASCAR. So there's a lot of demand for those jobs, I would think. And I know COVID, we had a big turnover of things and that, but I think that the fact that you have your foot in the door, you did the internship there, you've obviously moved up quickly, so they see that you have potential for even bigger things.
Mm-hmm.
What else would be something that you would really be interested in doing for NASCAR?
If it weren't within this company, I would like to pursue something with a race team. I've got a few in mind, but I'm not going to play favorites and name them.
Okay, that's fine.
But really, I mean, administrative work, marketing, since that is my minor, I've got a lot of interest in that.
Mm-hmm.
So eventually I hope to get some experience with that, because as good as a degree looks on a resume, the experience is just as important. So
Right.
That's kind of the stage of life I'm in right now, just trying to learn a lot of different things and apply that to my future.
Yeah, absolutely. And, the more experience you have, like you said, yes, the school looks good, but I'm always been not a fan of, but I've always kind of thought that the book learning is important, but the experience, firsthand experience of any job teaches you a lot more, because sometimes you never do what the things in the book taught you about. And I was in the accounting field. And so, a lot of what you learn in college isn't necessarily how it goes when you're doing accounting for somebody. And so, that's a good background to have. There's nothing ever wrong with getting that college education. And even if it's in, a type of occupation that then you change when you get out, you still have that college degree behind you. And it doesn't, if you'd have gone into accounting and something, but now you're in NASCAR and you have a chance to move, it still looks good. And it was still important that you did that. And so, I like younger girls to hear those stories of women who pursued that to decide then what they wanted to do after. And so you're a good role model in that respect for sure, Kelli.
Thank you.
So what does your dad think about you working for NASCAR?
Oh my goodness, he couldn't be more proud. I mean, and I'm the only child too. So I think he gets the best of both worlds. I mean, growing up, I wasn't really ever a girly girl.
Yeah.
Instead of getting Barbies for Christmas or my birthday, I got die casts. So, I mean, yeah, he's very proud. He actually only lives about 45 minutes from me right now, north of Daytona. So we spend a lot of time together. Although we're not together every Sunday to watch the races, we still talk about them.
Yeah.
And of course, we still go to the races in Daytona as much as we can together.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. I knew you were going to say he was very proud, because he led you in that direction for sure, down that path. One of the questions that I typically ask when we get near the end is, as a little girl, did you play with dolls or cars? And you just answered that you didn't really have a choice. You were
No.
kind of
It helped that I was interested in it for sure.
Hopefully you at least had the Barbie car with a Barbie in it. So
I did.
Yeah. Awesome. So, Kelli, what do you think about women in motorsports? That's what I focus on. That's what I promote. Not because they're more important, but because they have stories to tell, and we often don't hear those stories. We hear about the drivers and the people that are upper management in motorsports and those kind of things. But there's so many women who are juggling family, school, home, racing, whether it be them or their family member. And so I focus on women because I want to tell their stories like we're telling yours. So how do you feel about women in motorsports? Is it growing? Is it something that you would encourage other women to do? Let's talk about that for a minute.
Yeah, I mean, I think over the last few years, the world has become definitely more inclusive,
Hmm.
accepting women and different cultures in an industry where maybe it wasn't as accepted before.
Right.
And I think it's very inspirational for women in motorsports. I mean, one of my biggest idols, I think, is Kelly Earnhardt, because she, yes, she has the name, but she also has the drive to
Yeah.
really, create junior motorsports or help, with the execution of that. So
Yeah.
I work with a girl, Logan Mizuraka. She
Hmm.
races in the ARCA series.
Hmm.
Might have heard her name a time or two.
I've had her on the show. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I know Logan.
I work with her pretty close, just hearing her story. And she's my age too. So she's
Yeah.
really a big influence. And I think that women in motorsports is amazing. And I think as it continues to grow, we'll see women maybe in higher positions.
Hmm.
Right now, I know there's so many moving parts to what we watch on TV, but really all aspects of the industry, I think it's good to have women in it.
Yeah. Yeah. Logan's been on our show, so she's in a past episode. If you want to go back and find it, you can find all of our shows on Apple or all those platforms that they have podcasts. And she's an amazing young woman, and so I bet the two of you are buddies just from little talking to you here. And you're young, and so she's done a lot of things as well in her career, and I'm sure you can kind of go back and forth with her. Talking about Kelly, she wrote a wonderful book for women, not just women, but I take it from women. She wrote a wonderful book about her life and how she did what she did. I highly recommend the book to anyone. And she's humble about what she's done, but she has a lot of power and a lot of clout in the motorsports industry. And it takes you being successful in your job, being not just good at the job but good with people, because you have to build those relationships, and that's important. I had somebody tell me that the reason they got the job that they're doing now is because of the relationships they built. It had nothing to do with where they went to school or any of that. It was who did they meet, and then they stayed in touch so that when a position came open, she was the one they thought of. And so that's another thing that we mention about the relationships. And so you've done that already at your job with Logan. What's your perspective on, or how do you build relationships with people?
I mean, I guess I would consider myself a people person. I enjoy speaking to people and hearing their stories and their experiences. Um, Everybody has their own story. So, I mean, I like to think that I'm empathetic, whoever I'm talking to, especially one on one, I can relate to them or understand why they're feeling the way that they are, based off of, things that they've been through.
Hmm. Yeah. And that's really a life lesson that everybody should um, remember, that if NASCAR goes away tomorrow or whatever happens, we still have those relationships and those friendships with those people. And that's what I have absolutely been blessed and loved the most about motorsports, is the people that I've met and the relationships that I've built and the friendships that I've made. And when you go to an actual race, it's like old home week. It's like a reunion because you see some of the same people, and that's the interesting thing I think about motorsports. Um, you know, the Chicago Bears play a lot of different teams but they don't play the same team every week. Yet in NASCAR, on most racing series, you're going to race against the same people week after week. So you not only become friends with the other drivers, but also their teams because you see them every time. And so that's the thing too about motorsports that is way different than any other sport for sure.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I definitely love the fan base of NASCAR. I mean, I've met so many people, whether it's sitting next to them in the grandstands or just talking to them in the infield during the race, and exchange phone numbers with them and meet up again with them in 6 months when the next race is going on, and it's amazing just how much of a community feel you get from going to a race.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And then it's like, well, can I follow you on Facebook? And then you stay connected through social media, and then you really feel like your family more so than a lot of other sports for sure. So I know you're part of the Daytona team, but what did you think about the Chicago race? We just endured the rain yesterday and the day before. I felt so bad for Julie and her team. I think they did I didn't go, but I think from everything I saw and heard from people that were there, it was absolutely, she knocked it out of the park.
Yeah, definitely. I do like road courses. So I was excited for this one, and I was watching it with my boyfriend last night and just talking about how we've really never seen anything like this in NASCAR. I
Yeah.
mean, and it's, I hope it's a tradition that they continue to
Yeah.
carry. A few years ago they moved the Daytona race from July 4th to the end of August, but I think that it would be great for them to incorporate a road course race in a major city every year around
Mm-hmm.
4th of July weekend. I think a lot of people enjoyed it. I've been reading some posts on social media, and even friends that I have, that they don't follow NASCAR, they don't watch it every week, but they thought that it was amazing that they could race downtown in the streets of Chicago.
Yeah. I have some friends that live downtown in Chicago, different ones, and they were not very excited about it at first. The streets are blocked off, the traffic, but I think that those people then were able to walk to wherever, and watch. And then some of the, experiences, the suites they had, the areas for food, and to watch the race. And I heard there was a DJ at the start finish line that played the whole time during the race, green flag and all. And they just did some really fun things. And the drivers actually stayed downtown and walked and did things. And so I think the city of Chicago probably doesn't know what hit them over the weekend, because there was a lot of activity despite the weather. And so many people, when the NASCAR race got started, were still there.
Right.
They weren't going anywhere. And that was a sign right there that it was a success regardless of the weather.
Right. And even the fans that they were showing yesterday during the race, I think they looked like not your typical fan base that you
Mm-mm.
see, especially when they pan on, the fans during the Atlanta race or Talladega or Charlotte. And I heard the announcers say that 80% of the ticket holders yesterday was actually the first NASCAR race that they've ever attended.
Right.
And I thought
Right.
that was great. I mean, I think NASCAR is really trying to take off and get into new markets. So I think
Mm-hmm.
that was a great way to execute that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I listen to a lot of podcasts, and there was a lot of discussion about how was it going to be, a lot of negativity, honestly. And one thing that I knew, if anybody knows Julie Geisey, she's not going to do something halfway. And she pulled it off with her team. The one thing she couldn't control was the weather, but despite that, um, I'm going next year. I'm going next year regardless, because now I've seen what it was like. But when you say they don't look like NASCAR fans, there were almost nobody wearing shirts with any kind of NASCAR anybody on it. And
Right.
that was the clue right there, that a huge percent were not NASCAR fans, because we wear our gear when we go to the races.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but that was fun. And I'm anxious to see how many, Michigan's not that far away for some of those people to come. And I'm anxious to see, maybe hopefully they can track some of that, if that helps NASCAR overall and they go to other races.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially with even having the Clash out in LA.
Yeah.
I think that was a big thing for them. I mean, of course, I'm a little selfish and upset they took it away from Daytona, but I'm happy to see them trying to expand on their markets. I think that's really important to allow the sport to keep heading in the right direction.
Yes, absolutely. So my husband and I stayed in the Arizona area not this last winter, but the two prior winters. So we went to LA to the first Clash, and I thought it was great. And I wanted to experience that for myself and say that I was there for the first one. I should have gone to Chicago, but I was a little nervous about the crowds and the traffic and how it was going to go. And honestly, now that it rained so much, I'm really not sorry that I stayed home. But I do want to go see it in person. I want to experience that in person.
Definitely.
Yeah, for sure. So you're still young, but at some point you're going to be able to look back on your career and say, I made an impact on motorsports by doing this. What would you like that to be?
I guess just, and this goes back with the marketing with my degree and what I've just discussed in the last few minutes. I would really like to get in with NASCAR and just continue to propel the sport, gain a new fan base and a new appreciation, because you look at the demographics of the race fans, and most of them have been fans for decades. So in the coming decades, I know that that's going to change. And of course, I want the sport to stay alive. So figuring out ways to really get into different markets, and especially with people my age, they really don't like NASCAR. They're more into F1.
Yeah.
So I think that that's something that we're going to have to change. And I'd love to be a part of the change.
Yeah, and you're right, and that's interesting. But I think here's what I think why they're into F1, because of the Netflix show. So that propelled, people were watching, and they felt like, oh, I know this driver, I know that driver. Because honestly, the racing in F1 is not that exciting. The same guy wins every week,
Right.
and I used to watch. I don't even watch, because it's like, I don't want to see him win every week. I'm not even going to say his name. I don't want him to win every week. And not that he's not a good driver and that he's not, I don't mean any of that. It's just, I want to tune into a race where I'm not sure who's going to win. Definitely. That's part of the excitement of watching racing. Yesterday, we had no clue who was going to win.
No.
And nobody would have picked SVG.
Definitely not me.
No. And so, so I see why kind of F1 is the expensive. I mean, all the sports expensive, but to get a ticket to go to an F1 race is prohibitive to a lot of people.
Right.
To be able to go to a NASCAR race, a lot of times the kids are free. A truck or an Xfinity race are a little less expensive than a cup race, but even the cup races, you're going to pay way more to go to a concert than you are to go to a whole weekend of racing. You could buy a whole weekend of racing for one concert ticket.
Right.
Right. And so we have to get kids your age. I call you kids because you could be my granddaughter. We have to make kids your age realize that they could have a whole weekend of fun and watch 3 different events. Now we're having concerts and all kinds of other activities during the races. So it's not just go to the race, watch the race, go home. There's other things to do, but we have to get the word out. And, we got to get the word out to women. And that's kind of what I'm trying to do. I'm hoping in 2024 to have some events at some of the tracks to invite and encourage women who've never been to a race to come and experience it. But we have to get the word out. And that's what you need to do to your demographic. I do that to the demographic of my granddaughters.
Mm-hmm.
My kids are in their 30s. My granddaughters are 20, 18, And so how are we going to do that, Kelli?
Just promoting it. I mean, social media is huge right now, and especially for people in my generation. I mean, that's TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, sort of, not so much. And I'm seeing that a lot with race teams now, even, is really promoting their presence on social media, TikTok, trying to reach that younger fan base.
Yeah.
And I think we can do the same with women, in Women's History Month or just events like that. And especially focusing on the women who are in motorsports, because that's going to influence the next generation.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've got some great young drivers coming up. Poor Haley, she's kind of the lone wolf right now in NASCAR, but as far as drivers, but we've got some girls in ARCA that are really fantastic drivers. We've got some girls that are not in that level yet, but they're pretty exciting to watch and to follow. And so they're coming. We just have to get the word out, and we have to say, hey, have you noticed Katie Hedinger? She's one of my favorites. She's from Michigan, and she's becoming quite a well-known and excellent driver. So Kelli, you and I have to get the word out among all of our friends and everybody to do that. So, and I know that we both do, and that's our passion for sure to do that. Have you had any obstacles or anything as far as being a woman in motorsports? Something, has it been a benefit or has it not been a benefit to you?
I would say that my age actually plays more of an obstacle on me than my gender does. I work with the majority of people at work are men, but we've got a few women. I can probably count them on one hand, maybe two, but it's just, I don't think it's a struggle right now with the gender aspect of it, which is great. I think that we just need more women to be present. And I can't speak on a professional level. I understand what Logan goes through, and I know that she's fallen on some hard times in recent years, but she's doing a great job now. She's promoting herself. I believe, has more races scheduled this year with ARCA than she ever has. So any chance I get, I'm rooting for her, promoting her, even on my own social media page. Trying to get the word out to my friends, to really keep an eye out for women in motorsports.
Yeah, absolutely. And she's doing some broadcasting too, I believe.
I haven't caught up with her lately.
So I think she's been doing a little bit of maybe pit reporting, and because I saw where I can't remember what track she was at. She was there, and it looked like she had the headgear and stuff on, like she was reporting, which she'd be a great reporter as well as a driver, and the fact that she is a driver makes her reporting all that much better. But yes, agree. So when we find those women that we can know personally or that we can promote, then it's our responsibility to get them out there. And I don't just promote the women, I promote the men too, the drivers. NASCAR is an inclusive sport. Men, women, kids, grandparents, and so we want everybody to understand that everyone is welcome. And that's what's great about motorsports. And you can become part of the family when you're, a NASCAR fan or an NHRA fan or whatever it might be, for sure. So we did talk a little bit about social media. So How do you use it in your job, if you do? And then how do you use it personally to promote what's happening, or especially around racing?
With my job so much, well, I actually just drove for the first time a couple weeks ago. I've been employed there for a couple years, but I got out on the track at Daytona and I drove. So I promoted that on my Instagram. My friends think that I'm a professional now, but I'm far from it. Far from it, just having fun.
Yeah.
And then I just really enjoy promoting others because at the professional level, and I really want to see the people around me go far.
Yeah.
So Logan's a great example. I work with another young kid. He actually races locally at New Smyrna Speedway. His name's Dylan LeBeau, and I believe he just applied for the NASCAR Drive for Diversity program. So
Okay.
I've been promoting him a little bit again on my social media, but I'm really trying to influence my followers and
Yeah.
hopefully open up a new interest to them.
Yeah, absolutely. Because, gosh, and that's a great program too, Drive for Diversity. So
Mhm.
hopefully, he can get involved with that and move up. There's a lot of young drivers who have gone through that who now are doing very well. So we've got to keep those youngins coming up and driving those cars. So I drove a race car one time, Springport, Mid Michigan. I think it's called Mid Michigan now, but it's in Springport, Michigan. My son was there testing his car, and it was like a front wheel drive. I mean, it was nothing like probably what you drove, and there was no one else on the track. I mean, as far as being the only one out there, but that was really cool to do that, because had I been younger, and I probably would have done more as far as the driving part, because I loved it. I loved it. Yeah. So were there other cars on the track, or you were by yourself?
I was by myself, which
Yeah,
was
good.
fine by me
Yeah,
because, as you know,
absolutely.
Daytona is very narrow.
Yeah.
So I was comfortable out there on my own, but it was a lot of fun. I think it's a once in a lifetime experience. And if you can get out there and do it, with NASCAR racing experience, whether that be riding with the professional driver or
Yeah.
driving yourself, I think that everybody should try it.
Oh, I agree. I agree. And, we did it. Let's see. I'm trying to think what city in Florida we were in. And then it was near Disney. I know that. So Orlando, maybe somewhere in that area, is where he and I did our experience. But they're all over the place. You can look them up, or you can get a hold of Kelly. She'll be happy to help you find out, what tracks are available for you to do that. And some of those drivers are, that's their passion, is to get somebody in the car and show them what it's really like. Because after I got out of the car, what I was thinking was that was really fun. But if there were 40 other cars on the track with me, all going that fast, I don't think I could do that. That's a
Right.
little scary to me. But
Yes.
those drivers do that every Sunday. And so there's a lot more to it than you think until you get out there and you're going around at 100 and whatever miles per hour.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fun. So I do a little fun thing at the end, quick answers. It's just some of your favorites so we can get to know more about you. So just quick answers. Um, and so we're going to start with, what's your favorite food or restaurant?
My favorite food right now, chicken piccata.
Okay. All right. How about a favorite beverage?
Pink lemonade.
Okay. Favorite racetrack food?
Hot dogs.
Favorite color?
Blue.
Favorite animal?
Turtle.
Oh, I like that. I've never had anybody say turtle. What's a favorite vacation destination where you've been, or somewhere you would like to go?
Pompano Beach. It's down by Fort Lauderdale. That's my favorite place.
Okay. All right. Favorite candy or snack?
Three Musketeers.
Favorite race car? Racetrack, I mean. Favorite racetrack?
Ooh, Daytona.
Yeah, you better say Daytona. Do you have a favorite movie, actor, or actress?
Legally Blonde.
Oh, sure. Look at you, little blondie. You could have played in that movie, probably. Favorite musician or type of music?
Luke Combs.
Oh, good choice. Yeah, for sure. Favorite sports team that's not racing related?
Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Oh, yeah. Were you a Tom Brady fan?
I was the furthest thing from it until he came to Tampa.
Yeah. Yeah. I I was never a fan of his. I always admired his abilities, but I did kind of become more a fan of his when he went to Tampa because um he kind of really showed that, he was above and beyond one of the best quarterbacks ever.
Definitely.
And my niece lives in Florida and she's a huge Bucks fan, so I kind of followed them a little more.
Yeah.
How about your favorite professional race car driver?
Chase Elliott.
Favorite holiday?
Christmas.
Favorite TV or streaming show?
Selling Sunset.
Oh, I haven't heard of that. Is that a Netflix or?
It is. It is. It's good. It's
Okay.
reality TV if you're into that.
Okay. Well, I'm not, but I might check that one out. Your favorite thing to celebrate?
Birthdays.
Okay. And you already told us your favorite toy as a little girl was cars.
Yeah.
That's not really fair. It might not have been your favorite. You just didn't have a choice.
A little bit of both. No.
Right. Right, for sure. So, well, Kelli, I've enjoyed talking to you. Is there anything that we haven't talked about that we should have, either about yourself, your job, your goals, anything at all?
I think we covered it all.
Okay. I try to be good about covering it, but you never know. Every story's different. And so I want to make sure that there isn't something, that I don't know about you that I should have asked about. So I appreciate that. I really appreciate your time. We're doing this. Yesterday was the Sunday. NASCAR was in Chicago. Tomorrow's the 4th of July. So we kind of squeezed it in today because it worked for both of us. And I appreciate your time for sure. I wish you all the best in your future endeavors. I know you're going to go far. And when you get to Concord and you get, working in there, I'm going to say, remember when we did that podcast? I need this.
I'll remember you. I appreciate your time. Thank you
Oh,
for having me on.
oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. So enjoy your 4th of July. And please stay in touch with me. Let me know where you're at, what you're doing, and we'll enjoy keeping in touch and knowing, maybe we'll run into each other in person one day.
Absolutely. I hope so.
All right. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay. Thanks so much.
Bye.
Bye.